gosh, I'm not going to be very good at this.
I promise. So welcome to another episode of the In Your Home podcast. I don't.
I market. Tony B is happy to.
Would have to be Barclay Prime.
So how many games do you
Grew up in Monmouth County, Central Jersey, my whole life.
Now in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis.
Well, I love being an artist, man, because I want to make stories. And
I'm based here in Philly for about 30 plus years now.
The commercial market is in good shape.
No, I need to be in control of everything. I'm a control freak.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the In Your Home podcast. We are in Philadelphia today and we have a special guest. She's going to go ahead and introduce herself right now.
Hi guys, my name is Kayla Donovan and I live in King of Prussia, originally from Jersey, but I've been in this area since around 2014.
Okay. So you're out in the suburbs of Montgomery County, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what brought you to this area?
So I had graduated college and I grew up in Monmouth County, Central Jersey my whole life.
Okay.
And I actually got a job out in Exton working for an animal health company back right when I graduated. So I decided that I didn't want to commute and I ended up moving out here. And my boyfriend, who I met in college, now my husband, happened to grow up around here. So it kind of worked out great. I moved to Conchie right on Fayette Street, right when I originally moved here, and been here ever since.
So when were you living in Conchie? Like how long ago? When was that?
Gosh, that was probably 2015, end of
Okay.
2014,
'Cause
2015.
It keeps changing.
Yeah, it's
Quick.
changed a lot. It is nothing like it used to be when I had originally lived there. And I thought the traffic was crazy then, and there wasn't nearly as much as there is now.
Mhm.
But my gym is there. So I have a lot of friends that live in Conchie, and that's kind of like our spot where we go out to eat and go out for drinks. It's just a little bit more convenient than coming all the way out to the city. And, it's convenient, but sometimes depending on the time of day, can be a little tricky to get to sometimes. A lot different than it used to be.
Yeah. So what do you do for work?
So I am the founder and partner of a mergers and acquisitions sell-side advisory firm. So the easiest way for someone that doesn't know what the heck that is, because I didn't 5 years ago,
Okay.
I'm basically like a real estate agent, but for your business. And I mainly focus on smaller, lower middle market healthcare practices. So I do veterinary practices, doctor's offices, dental practices, things like that. And I typically go help sellers find buyers who are corporately owned. So I'm sure, as you've seen, there's been a lot of consolidation in the veterinary space and the dental space or even like Mainline Health, for example, buys private practices and kind of brings them under their umbrella. So I do practice valuations, and then if they decide, tell them what I think that the practice is worth. And then if they decide that they want to sell it, I run the whole process of finding buyers. And then from that's just kind of when the whole experience starts, and then, kind of guide them through the offers, the letter of intent, and then the whole transition process that usually takes like 60 and 90 days to close the deal.
So you're usually working with the smaller companies that are going to the larger companies?
Yes.
Okay. And then do they come to you, or do you proactively try to see if they're
So I've had my company for about 3 years now, and I now have partners, but I started out completely on my own, and kind of had to work from the ground up. And a lot of the people who do what I do have been doing this for a very, very long time. So I really had to create a name for myself. So I get lots of referrals, lots of going out and knocking on doors, sending letters, connecting with people. I was doing a podcast a little bit, but I kind of fell out of that. I need to kind of get back into it. But and going to conferences, things like that. So actively reaching out to businesses that, just saying, hey, do you have an exit strategy? Are you looking to sell? And have you thought about that process? And, or even do you just want to know what your business is worth? I'm happy to help.
Okay. And the bigger companies want these businesses because of the office space or the clients that
Yeah, so
both?
it's kind of like an interesting there's a couple different pieces to that. So most of these, we call them corporate consolidators, they are typically private equity backed. So they have private equity backing that is invested into, creating this platform of dental practices, veterinary offices, whatever that looks like. And their whole goal is to, build something from the ground, whether it's the de novo, which is just a fancy way to say new build, or they're going to acquire practices, or they're going to do a little bit of both. And it's usually one private equity firm that's backing them. They'll grow it to a certain amount and then they'll sell it to the next private equity group, or, a bigger organization that will buy it. And they'll make, that's kind of how they make their money.
Okay.
And that's typically can be anywhere from 5-6 years is typically like the sweet spot. Sometimes it can happen a little bit quicker, kind of depends on what the company's goals are, how quickly they want to grow. And usually they're looking to get the client base, or maybe the practice has all the things and the means to be a really, really great business, but sometimes the business owners, especially in like a veterinary practice or a doctor's office, they're really great at practicing medicine, but they're not always the best at running a business. So, these larger companies can kind of come in and help. They have more resources, right, to
Yeah.
help with recruiting and the operational support, getting better cost of goods, things like that. So they'll come in and kind of, help operationally and help the business grow even more. And sometimes there's different ways to structure the deal. Like sometimes there's the joint venture model where the seller will continue to have some stake in the ownership of the practice, the actual practice. And then there's other structures where they might, as part of their deal, they might take equity in the company that's the parent company who's buying the practice. And then, when they eventually sell, then they can kind of liquidate that equity and take that out. So, or they'll just sell outright and just, they usually, depends on how many doctors you have, but they usually want the sellers to stay on for a transition period. And it depends on the business, depends on how many doctors they have. But typically that looks, especially now, because so much has changed in the M&A space, but typically it's like a year. I'd say, but probably now, especially in the vet space, they probably want you to stay on for at least 2 years, especially if you're a practicing doctor, and just be an employee, like, until they can hire somebody to backfill you, or, grow to a certain amount of revenue. That's typically how they kind of manage that situation.
Okay. So basically every single deal is different. Like there's
Every single one's
How do you know
different.
what to charge? Is it just like you make it up, or is there like a set system?
Yeah, so I usually, it's usually a percentage, right? And it depends on how big the business is and how much legwork I'm gonna have to do. I kind of pride myself, and I think the way that I differentiate myself in my business is I've worked for a buyer before, which is kind of how I got into this. So I worked with a lot of different sell side advisors, investment bankers, people representing these sellers, more in the vet space. But I felt like there was a need for a more strategic, organized, streamlined process, and not just kind of sending over, you have someone representing you that you're paying, you know 5, 6, 7% of the total enterprise value. Like that can be a large amount of money. And sometimes they'll just send you some crappy P&Ls that are all PDFs that you have to like use a magnifying glass and put together your own models and valuations. And you call them and ask them questions, and they're like, well, I don't know, why don't you just call the seller and ask? And I'm like, well, isn't that your job? Like, kind of like if you were in that situation and you're representing somebody and you didn't know anything about their house or what they were looking for. So kind of knowing that, that's kind of what made me feel as though I could provide a better solution in that aspect of, having a more streamlined approach, to just be a better service to these practice owners. And so it's typically a percentage. I do a lot of work up front regardless of the size and what they're
Mhm.
paying me. I mean, typically, the percentage can kind of vary. Sometimes I've done 3%, sometimes I've done 7%. It kind of depends on the size of the
So it
business.
really is kind of like real estate.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. I didn't even know that existed. Is there like tons of competition that do exactly what you do, or?
There is, there I wouldn't say there's tons, and I think, certain people will kind of pick it up and they're kind of like a jack of all trades and they're
Mhm.
just like, "Oh, like, I'm an accountant, but I also do this," or "I'm a lawyer and I also, can help negotiate a deal," but, I'm very specific to what I do, and there's some that are very specific in certain businesses. I kind of always thought I was just going to be veterinary specific, but
Mhm.
just the trends in the market and the way things have just changed. If I wanted to grow my business to, I guess, the goals that I had, I realized that I had to kind of branch out and then to other markets. And it kind of happened by accident. It was just all of a sudden people started calling me and being like, "Hey, my friend's a vet and told me that you sell practices. Like, could you sell my cardiology practice or my dental practice?" And I'm like, sure, it's a similar process, but, so, I would say there's not a lot of competition like me.
That are
It's gonna look
exclusive.
very different, but,
Yeah.
it's still a competitive space to be in for sure.
Okay. All right. So King of Prussia. Do you own a house out there or do you rent?
I do, I own a
You
house
own
in
a
King of
house.
Prussia.
So when did you buy it approximately?
So, we've had our house for, I think, about 8 years
Okay.
now. And thank God we bought our house when we did.
That's nice.
I think there's a lot of pros and cons to living in King of Prussia. There are certainly things that I like about it. I'd say that my cons list is growing kind of rapidly, if I'm being honest with you.
Okay.
Um, so ideally,
Traffic?
yes,
Okay.
yes. Traffic and just they're building it up. I mean, right across the street, they just put in all these townhomes and like they're building it up so
Too
much,
much.
and there's just so many people everywhere you go. And forget it, around like Christmas time, if you go anywhere near the mall, it's like a disaster. So I ideally, I grew up in a very small town. It was very much a beach town, right? Like right
Hmm.
by the beach,
Okay.
and it was very much small town suburb feel. And I think that's kind of what, I'm an animal person. I ride horses. I like nature. I don't, enjoy I like going to the city and being in a busier area, but it's not necessarily where I want to live. So I think ideally we would like to move out a little bit further to, like, Wayne, more of the Malvern area eventually. But for right now, I mean, the taxes are great in King of
Okay.
Prussia. So,
Compared to what?
um, that's kind of where we're at now. But certainly in like the next year or two, we're gonna start looking for our next place, I would say.
Okay. And so like the price of the houses from when you bought it to now is significantly.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy how much it's changed. I mean, to just give you an example, but I think we bought our house for something around like 290, I think. And
Can't
it's a
do that
small
anymore.
house, but it's, yeah, you
Yeah.
can't. And I mean, it's a corner lot. We have a pretty big backyard. It was very outdated. There was a lot of more just like cosmetic stuff that we
Yeah.
did to it. We didn't expand or anything. We just, you know, when we moved in, we had like a mauve carpets and a bathroom with a blue toilet and a blue shower and wood paneling and wallpaper everywhere, all that lovely stuff that you find in those old houses. So just lots of cosmetic stuff that we did to it. But then the house like across the street from us, it's the exact same square footage. And we also have a carport in our own driveway. Most of
Okay.
the driveways in my neighborhood are shared driveways.
Okay.
Um, but the house like across kind of diagonal from us has a shared driveway. They don't have a carport. It's the exact same square footage, very outdated, very similar to what our house looked like, that what we bought it when we bought it. And I think it just recently sold for, I want to say, like might have been 320, 330, something like that, maybe a little bit more.
So yours is gonna be a little higher.
Yeah, and they didn't I think they didn't even like do like a competitive process. I think they just took like a cash offer and were just like, we just want the house was all paid off. The woman that lived
just
there
wanna
had
get
been
rid
there
of
for
it.
forever. They just wanted to get rid of it. But
Okay. Well, that's
yeah.
good when you go to sell.
Yeah, right? I know,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So typically, not typically, most of the time we've had people from Philadelphia. So it's nice to have someone from the suburbs. So I figured we would do a little like suburban trivia since I sell houses all over. So I do
Yeah.
mostly Philly, but I go out to the suburbs. I have actually a listing in King of Prussia right now.
Oh, really?
You know, there's like it's almost like towards Bridgeport. Like at the very end, there's these Toll Brothers.
Yes, I
That one
live
in there, and
pretty close to there
it's really
actually.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're really nice, those
Yeah.
houses.
Anyway, so I figured we'd do some King of Prussia
Perfect.
trivia.
Oh
So I'm gonna ask
gosh.
you questions and see if you can
The
get this one
pressure is
right.
on. Oh no.
Well, I've done this myself, and I'm not good at it. But I'm gonna ask you, which of the following celebrities is from King of Prussia?
Oh gosh.
Number 1 would be Kobe Bryant. Number 2 is Danny DeVito. Number 3 is Lisa Salters. And number 4 is Brandon Graham. And do you know any of those people?
I know Kobe Bryant,
Okay.
obviously. I want to say it's Kobe Bryant.
That would be like the answer that I would have probably given because
Yeah.
I know he was from the area, but no, it's actually Lisa Salters, and she was
I actually don't know who she is.
she's like a she did like sports games, sports reporting, and then she was like one of the big interviewers or announcers during like the O.J. Simpson trial. When he was,
Oh,
so
interesting.
she's from King of Prussia apparently.
Wow. Okay, that's
Yeah.
really
I
cool.
never knew it either.
Yeah.
But okay, here's my next question. You have 30 seconds. Name as many shopping malls as you can name in the Philadelphia suburbs. Go.
The King of Prussia Mall, the Plymouth Meeting Mall. Oh gosh. The Gateway Shopping Center, does that count?
Sure.
The Exton Mall, maybe?
Exton Mall still exists?
I think so.
Okay.
It did 3 years ago, at least. There's one more I'm thinking of that I can't remember. It's probably 30 seconds. That's all I got.
It's 30 seconds. No, that was pretty good. If I had to do it, I wouldn't have got the Exton Mall, but there's the Montgomery Mall, the Willie
That's the
Grove
one I was
Mall.
thinking of.
There might be a couple others, but
Yeah.
the next question would be, do you know the Cherry Hill Mall? Have you ever been there?
Yes.
So if you live in Philly, as I do, typically you have, I feel like most people go to 2 different malls. It's either King of Prussia or Cherry Hill. So people always ask me, which mall do I like better? Do you have an answer for that?
I think the King of Prussia Mall, only because
Because you're there.
I'm there. I'm right down. Like I could, if I really wanted to, I could probably walk to the mall from my
Yeah.
house. And the King of Prussia Mall, I mean, they've just built. I do wish they had an Abercrombie and Fitch there, an adult version. That's a struggle. But
Didn't
you know,
something just happen with the owner of that like scandal? Something.
oh,
with
there's like
the-
a documentary. Yeah,
Okay.
it's I worked there in high school. I still love their clothes, but it
Yeah,
would be
But
great
they
if
don't have any King of Prussia. That's
they
weird.
used to, but then they and then they have an Abercrombie Kids, which if you order the adult clothes online and need to make a return, you don't want to send it, you can actually return it at the Abercrombie Kids. But yeah, they did have one and then they closed it, but then I guess there's rumblings that they're going to reopen a new one there. And also, have you ever been to Bar Taco at the
Yeah.
King of Prussia Mall?
Mhm.
Fabulous.
Yeah, it's
They probably have like the best margarita. If I want a good margarita,
You go there.
that's my go-to place. And you never think because of like,
It's in a mall.
yeah, but
Yeah.
best margaritas ever.
Yeah. So living in the city, the Cherry Hills. The problem with King of Prussia is one of your complaints is that the traffic to get from the city,
Yes.
no matter when you go, you're liable to be in traffic.
Ugh,
And
I
then you get to
know.
the mall and you're so tired.
I know.
And then you get in that the mall is amazing. There's
I
every store
know.
imaginable, but I get lost. Like to
Oh
walk up,
God.
it's
And
just
finding a parking
the
space and knowing
parking.
where to
So I go
park.
to Cherry
It's
Hill because it's just
crazy.
an easier process. There's
Yeah.
not as many good stores, but there's a couple. Um, so I don't know. That brings up my next question. I'm gonna give you 30 seconds.
Oh no.
Name as many stores as you can or restaurants in the King of Prussia Mall.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Go.
Well, Bar Taco, Altered State, Nordstrom, uh, Vineyard Vines, Sephora, Aloe, Lululemon, South Moon Under, Viore. Maybe that was 30
No, keep
seconds.
going.
Gosh,
Food, maybe.
that North Italia place. Where else do I like to go? Smash Burger and I can't even think of anything else.
All right,
Louis
that's good.
Vuitton.
There you go. Okay, that was pretty good actually.
I don't go there
That was
that
good.
often,
I was
surprisingly.
actually just there this weekend, so that's why I probably could have named a couple more just because I was
Yeah.
just there. Otherwise, I would never have.
Yeah,
gotten
I
it.
haven't been there in a couple weeks actually. I try to steer clear
Of the
clear
mall.
of the mall as
That's
much as I
It's gonna get
can.
worse in the next 2 months.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so what else can I ask you? The King of Prussia Town Center, do you know that?
Yes.
So I'll give you 30 seconds. See if you can name 7 places in that King of Prussia Town Center.
Okay, there's Paladar, Heart and Paw, the noodle place that Honey Grow, Street Taco, I think is another place. Founding Farmers, Ulta, that counts. Wegmans, and the barbecue place, Mission Barbecue.
Good job. What's the
Oh,
bar?
and LA Fitness, because I used to go there and that was a
Bad?
nightmare. That was awful.
I belonged there years ago. Not that one, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Now we go to the Lifetime.
That's where
there,
I went
which
before I moved
is
to the city.
awesome.
Yeah, it's really
Love
nice.
Lifetime.
Yeah. Actually, they have those in New York City. I was in New York City, and my friend goes there, and it's so nice. And
Really?
right in the city. Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I bet they're so nice.
Yeah.
And the pool is great. Like in the summer, sometimes I'll
like a
go there
swim
and
club.
just sit and like do my work and hang out. And classes are great. So yeah, it's a good spot. Was much needed.
Yeah.
There was like no good gyms in King of
Nope.
Prussia.
No, there's not that many in the city, to be honest. Like, I live in a building that has a really nice gym, so I got lucky. But like outside gyms, there's like City Fitness, which is good for the city, but it's not like Lifetime.
Yeah,
It's not quite
yeah.
that.
I still go to there's this place called Prime Intensity Training
Okay.
Pit that I've been going to since I moved to Conchi, and I just still go there. It's like a CrossFit type gym.
Okay.
And I think they might have one closer to the city. I forget what. I know they have one in Ardmore now, and then I forget where their other other location was, but yeah, that's where I
You
go.
belong to both?
I just go to the one in Conchi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, next game. I'm going to give you a name of a restaurant. You have to tell me if it's in the city of Philadelphia or in a suburban town outside of Philadelphia.
Oh gosh, I'm not going to be very good at this.
I probably would have gotten half these wrong, but anyway, ready?
I'm ready.
We'll do one by one. First one is called FIA, F-I-A.
In the city?
Correct.
Okay.
Never been there. But
Me neither. I've never even heard of it.
The second one would be Izzy's.
I want to say that's in the city too.
That is in Ardmore.
Oh.
Yeah. Next one would be Coletta.
City?
Fishtown. Yep.
Okay.
The next one would be At the Table.
I'm going to say suburbs.
It is. It's in the town where you might want to move, Wayne.
Oh, okay.
Next one would be The Blue Elephant.
That's suburbs.
Wayne also.
Yes.
Okay. Alice.
City?
Yep, South Philly. And the last one I have here is Mary.
City?
No, it's Ambler. My brother actually owns it. That's why I put
Oh,
that.
really?
So I should get
The
something.
only one I've been to has been Blue Elephant on that whole
Is it
list.
good?
It is. Yeah. It's interesting. They have like sushi and like but it's a cool ambiance and atmosphere. And yeah, they also have one in I want to say it's like near maybe like Coatesville area,
Okay.
which is interesting. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've been there before.
Okay. And then this one's coming from Yelp. I would need you to name the 5 most expensive restaurants in King of Prussia.
Wow. Okay.
See how many you can get, and we'll give you a minute.
Eddie V's.
That's number 1.
Wow, I got that.
Yeah.
Sullivan's.
That's not there, but I'm kind of surprised.
Capitol Grill.
That's also not there, but I'm kind of surprised.
Seasons 52.
Nope.
Creed's.
Nope.
Oh gosh.
I don't even know if I agree with this list, but
Trying to think.
oh wait, there is a steakhouse you didn't name. That's on the list here. It's in the mall.
Oh, Morton's.
Yeah, that's 4.
Gosh, what else is like high end over there?
One of them's like a place you go to and it's just way too much food. Most people hate it because of that. It just keeps coming.
Carmine's.
No, but that's a good one.
Oh, the
It's
hibachi.
Brazilian.
Oh, what's that place called?
Should I just tell you?
Yeah, I don't know.
Fogo de Chao.
That's it.
And
Yeah, how could
then
I forget?
One's an Asian restaurant, which the name of it would not make me think it's like an expensive place, but Nen Zhang soup dumplings.
Never heard of
I
that.
don't either. And the number 3 was Gaucho's Prime.
Oh, that must be that's got to be another
Steak, right?
Brazilian steakhouse. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about this list. Sometimes these Yelp
Yeah.
lists are not, because some of the ones you said at the beginning, I would think would be more than.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. 2 more personal questions, and we're getting close to the end.
All right.
What are 3 things you are most curious about in life right now?
3 things I'm most curious about in life. I guess navigating my 30s and also I think
Are you just into your 30s?
I'm 32, so and it's kind of been like, starting my own business and figuring out where I fit in and getting that up and running has kind of been, a journey. I think learning more about myself and like what really excites me and like what I want to, I've gotten more into competing my horse, and that's kind of been like a whole like newer, like I grew up riding and competed in college and stuff, but it's very different now. And being in a new discipline, I ride in the sport of eventing, which is like very different than I did recently. So kind of navigating that. And yeah, I think just, figuring out where I want to live. I think is another like
one, yeah.
I don't know if I necessarily, like I said, want to stay in King of Prussia. So like, curious to kind of just see how that all pans out and where that ends up.
Mhm.
Really. I think those are probably like the 3 biggest things that I'm still working on trying to figure out right now, I guess.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
So you compete in horse events?
I do. Yeah.
Where do you do that? Is it travel or is it like one place?
So I board my horse in Spring City at a eventing dressage. Those are different types of disciplines. When I first bought my horse, he was at a private farm who actually my business partners at the time owned the farm. So that's kind of how I met them. So it's kind of crazy how my life is just kind of intertwined and got me on the journey that I'm on now. So I kept, and that was in Malvern. And then I moved, they sold the farm and I wanted to go to a place that had an indoor and a trainer and was just going to help further take me to competitions and do stuff like that. So most of my shows, because of the sport that I do or my competitions are anywhere from, they're more closer to like Maryland. Like I'm actually showing this weekend at Plantation, which is in I want to say I think it's in Coatesville.
Okay.
And then I'm showing in next month in Virginia. And then I've also shown at a couple shows in Maryland. And then I did show at the Devon Horse Show this year too, which was really cool because I never got to, I've always gone to that show, but I never actually got to compete there. So it was really, really cool to be able to compete. In the Dixon Oval at Devon, and it's like, so iconic. So it was really cool to have that experience. But most of my shows are an hour and a half, 2 hours away, and my trainer has like a big rig trailer, so she drives my horse down over there for me. And yeah, it's a really cool thing. I love it.
So are they to like, do you make money or is it more just for like personal pride?
You can, you certainly can. There's, a lot of professionals and, the people who are in the Olympics and, once you get to the higher levels, there's sponsors and, you make training you do it for a living and you sell horses and things like that. For me, because I do it more just because I enjoy it. Everyone jokes you pay all this money just to win like a 10-cent ribbon, but it's more for the experience.
It's a good hobby.
Yeah, it's really fun. And I do 3-day eventing. So it's not actually, that's just what they always called it. But there's a dressage where have you ever seen that video of Snoop Dogg talking about the horse that's crip walking? That's dressage. Everybody knows like what that is because of that.
He did a good job in all the stuff he did.
Yeah. And then there's the stadium jumping where, it's all about, and the dressage is more, they give you like scores on all the different movements and you have to memorize like a test. And then for the stadium jumping, there's all these jumps set up that you have to remember, the course, and then it's for time. So whoever does it the fastest and if you hit a rail or your horse stops, you get time added to your score. And then there's the cross country phase where that's like all like the crazy water jumps and banks, and you're jumping logs and tables, and you're out in this big open field and you're galloping, and there's like a certain time. You can't go over the time and you can't be under the time. So you have to like stay in this kind of time frame, and then also not have any faults where your horse is like stopping at the jump or falling off or crashing and burning. So, and then whoever has the lowest score wins. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I've only rode horses a couple times and
really
not very good at it, but but it seems fun. What age did you start doing that?
I started riding when I was, I think, like 6 years old.
Right.
So I was it was kind of something that I always loved animals, and then I just fell in love with horses. My grandma used to ride, so I just really got into it. And my mom and dad tried to get me into all these other sports like cross country, swimming, soccer, everything you could imagine. And horseback riding was the only thing that I truly loved. And I've been doing it ever since. When I first moved to the Philly area, I actually, when I graduated college, stopped riding for a while, just because with work, and I didn't have a barn, and it was kind of hard to find a place around here. And then I got back into it a couple of years ago and was leasing a horse, and then he ended up moving, and I was like, I never want to lose this from my life again. So I just took the leap and bought my own, and it's kind of just been a great experience ever since. So I decided I'm not ever going to give up on it again, I guess.
You're the second one I've had on this podcast that leased the horse, which I didn't even know was
really
possible. Yeah, I had someone else from California actually, that leased a horse, which I didn't think was possible. But
Yeah.
how much is it? You don't have to tell me the exact price you pay, but like the typical horse that does what your horse does, like how much are horses?
Well, it definitely varies. My horse, it depends on the breed. It depends like what they've done. So my horse is actually an off the track thoroughbred. So he was a race horse at one point in his life. I've had him for 3 years now. So I bought him when he was a 4-year-old. Keep
Okay.
in mind, horses live until they're like in their 30s.
Oh,
So that was young. And then he raced and then he played polo. He was a polo pony,
okay.
and I bought him from a polo farm, and he was like low four figures, which is pretty cheap for a horse. And then, but when you're looking at the upper levels and off the track thoroughbreds are typically a lot more affordable because usually you have to restart them and they've raced and they need some maintenance, or historically they're usually not, they're, I'd say a lot has changed, but typically they're not like those upper level, like Olympic Grand Prix horses that you're seeing. But then there's a lot of people that import horses from Europe, different types of warm bloods and these Irish sport horses. And those you see more in the upwards of like, you know, mid five figures
Jeez.
or more. And that's just for buying the horse. That doesn't include
All
like
the stuff you need.
your monthly board, all your equipment, vet bills, their shoes, like getting their feet done. Yeah, it's an ongoing money pit, but if it's something that makes you really happy, it's
Yeah.
worth it. But for someone that doesn't really understand it, if they knew how much money I spend on my horse, it would
I can
probably make
imagine.
them like my poor husband, I think, is
Does he ride?
like, no. He
Like,
plays golf.
which isn't
He
cheap
comes
either.
to my show. Yeah, all right. We both decided to pick the most expensive hobbies. He comes to my shows and he's very supportive and he loves our horse, but no, I've maybe made him get on like twice, which he puts up with it, but it's not his favorite
It's not his
thing.
favorite.
Definitely not.
Okay. So you told me before we came on here you don't go to the city of Philadelphia that much, but you've gone several times. What was the last thing you did when you came to Philadelphia?
So I think the last time I was here, just for more, I may have popped in for some clients around here, but I think the last time I was like actually here for a while, we went out to dinner with our friends at Alpen Rose. I don't
It's
know if
really
you've ever
good.
been there, but
Yeah.
it was
It's
fantastic.
probably more expensive than all the restaurants I named in King of Prussia.
Yeah, but it
But
was
it's
more
good.
worth it than all
Yeah.
those restaurants in King of Prussia. It was just, I mean, the food was fabulous. It was so good.
Yeah.
And then I did go over, I think it was like around Christmas, the Ritz Carlton did this like pink
The pink
bolt
place,
thing.
that was
Yeah.
ridiculous.
I was
It was like $40 to get in or
yeah,
something.
we
Yeah.
got some, me and my friend were suckers and we ended up doing it and it ended up being like a really fun night, but yeah, it
But it's like a
wasn't,
small room.
yeah, it was not what I
It was
expected.
better
Let's just
outside
say.
the pink room.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
But we love
We'll probably do it again though, I bet. Yeah.
probably. But I love the Ritz Carlton bar. I think we actually went there for drinks before dinner. I love that
Yeah,
bar.
it's a
It's
nice
it's a
bar.
cool place to hang out. But yeah, Alpen Rose, I think, was the last place we've been out to dinner, and it was fantastic.
Yeah. I like it there. All right, so we've talked about a lot. Do you have any questions for me before we?
Um, I'm trying to think of what. I guess what do you love most about your job?
So it might be similar to I mean, I don't know you enough, but I would think the type of job you have, it's just that it's different every day and like
Yeah.
it's endless as far as like who you could meet, what like there's no like set plan. You don't go to an office and just sit there and do the same things every day. And I meet so many people, that I want to meet, some that I
Yeah.
have no interest in meeting, but like it leads to different things and it's just I don't it's just like every day is like different and you just don't
Yeah.
really know. That would be what I like about it. Um the most probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, and generally like most of the people that I've met and worked with.
Yeah.
Occasionally you get some crazy people.
Oh,
Deal with that.
I
but
know how that goes. For
yeah.
sure. For
But
sure.
overall, it's a good job. I like it. Yeah,
Awesome.
I think I'd be bored doing anything that's not kind of like that anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And
Yeah.
how do you think you'll ever move? Would you ever move out of the city? Would you consider
Um,
yourself like, do you
so
love the city?
I think if I stay in this area, I don't think I'll move out of the city because I lived in the suburbs for so many years. I think I'm generally either like a beach town person or a city person and not so much the suburbs, or I just got sick of it.
Yeah.
Um, so I would only move out of Philly or like the city if I moved somewhere else, like
Yeah.
California or somewhere like different. And if I do that, it won't be for a while. And I really do enjoy like stuff.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying
I
like
guess if you could move anywhere and you had to pick, where would you want to move right now?
anywhere like in the world or the country or
In the world.
oh wow. I think I need to see more places to to pick.
You gotta
I did
travel.
just go to Montreal, like actually kind of for work, but
Oh,
it was like only for like an hour of work.
that's cool.
And it was so nice. I couldn't believe how nice. I mean, it wasn't freezing yet, so that was
Yeah.
good. But really nice, like town.
Yeah,
But
I've
again,
never been.
which I would live in a second. But then in the winter, it's brutally bad. So that
Oh,
would rule that one out. So it'd have to be somewhere where the weather. And I don't like Florida, like super hot.
yeah.
So it'd have to be like a place to live that's really nice. That's like the weather's like kind of like we've had for the last week
Yes,
all the time.
right? I
Yeah.
know. I think you might only find
With
that in
like
like California, maybe.
the
At least in
weather,
the
I
yeah,
think is,
yeah.
But then you got to worry about all kinds of disaster, national like earthquakes and
Oh, yeah, no, I
traffic.
wouldn't.
The beach towns in California, I love though. So
Yeah,
like that would be if I stayed in the USA and I had a choice, it would be some like smaller beach town, like in the outside of like LA or San Diego or something
yeah.
like that. Yeah,
You'll definitely get your weather there for
the
sure.
weather, yeah, you can't beat that.
Yeah.
But anyway, we had a lot of fun on this show.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell everyone how they could like get a hold of you if they want to reach out and sell their business?
Yeah, absolutely. So my website and my company name is Evo Transition Partners. So you can reach us at evotransitionpartners.com. I'm also on Instagram, Kayla Grace Donovan. I also have an Evo Instagram that I haven't been using as much. So my personal is probably better. And then my email is, well, you can just contact her. My email is very long. So, but visit our website and all our info is on there. So, yep, Evo Transition Partners. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. This has been
And
awesome.
keep in touch.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Thank you. See ya.
Awesome. Sweet.
I think it was